Hello everybody, Sean Milburn here with Milburn Motorsports once again today. It's a little windy, excuse me if you can hear it. I have something special today. We're gonna be doing something really cool this weekend. I'm here at my buddy's house. I have the Z, but I'm gonna be dropping this baby off and we're gonna go ahead and take a ride. He just pulled up. This thing right over here. Oh yeah.
What's up, dude? Thanks for
What's
coming
up,
out.
Michael? How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Doing good. Michael was kind enough to let me use his Type R for the weekend. So instead of bringing the Z, I'm gonna be bringing this. It's gonna be an awesome time. This is probably the best front wheel drive car that's ever been made. This thing is definitely not stock. It is fully track built out. He daily drives this thing. We're gonna go ahead and get him out of the car, let him get settled, and then we'll go ahead and talk about what he's done to it. All right, so we got the Z in the garage. It's gonna be living there for the next few days, and this thing's gonna be tearing up the roads in the meantime. We got it all situated. So how did you get this car, Michael? What made you want to get this car?
Yeah, well, it all started, probably like 2018. I had an 8th gen Civic Si. Really fun little commuter car, and I wasn't even intending to get the Type R just because of the looks. I thought it was a little aggressive, to put lightly, but an opportunity came. I traded up my 8th gen for a Type R. Met Sean and his brother through work, and they kind of introduced me to the whole tracking lifestyle, and the rest is history. So really enjoying the car so far. So I've had this car now since June of 19, and it's got 26,000 miles on it. Has track miles, street miles. It's my daily driver, but it's not really too daily friendly anymore as it used to be. So yeah, pretty excited.
So you heard it here first. Milburns have been getting people into tracking since 2019, and this is, yeah, 2018. Yeah, even longer than that. So this is what it turns people into. They go from driving a daily little commuter into a big old gas guzzler that you have to fill every other day.
Yeah, I mean, before I had this car, I actually had a 2017 BRZ. We won't talk about that car though. That was just a bad decision on my part. Fun little car, just had its own problems. But yeah, we'll talk about the Type R today.
Tell us a little about what you've got done to it so far. What is your mod list looking like?
I guess we could start with the basic bolt-ons. It's full bolt-on, of course, and it's custom tuned. So we'll start with the tune. It's tuned by Derek Robinson at Innovative Motorworks. He's really well known in the 10th gen Civic community, and this is tuned on K-Tuner, not Hondata. I know Hondata is really popular for these platforms, but I myself chose K-Tuner just for several reasons. Other than that, Eventuri V2 carbon fiber intake. We have the Eventuri carbon fiber turbo inlet pipe, RV6 ceramic coated catted downpipe, high flow cat, it's not catless. We have the RV6 ceramic coated front pipe, and a Fujitsubo titanium exhaust to kind of round out the power adders there, or bolt-ons if you want to call it that. Oh, forgot to mention CNR or PWR intercooler and PRL charge pipes for the intercooler.
So we all know this thing makes plenty of power, but with great power comes great heat. So Michael, what have you done to stop the heat from getting to this thing on the track?
Yeah, I mean, the power adders are fun, but it's not fun when the car overheats on you on track. So there's a lot of stuff done in terms of cooling. As you can see, like all the carbon fiber bits, that's really good at preventing heat from entering into the charged air. But what's more important on the Type Rs is the coolant temperatures. So I went ahead and I upgraded the radiator. So this is a CNR or PWR racing radiator. It's 42 millimeters thick, which is I think almost double the size of stock. But the big difference with this one is that it's using core technology seen on Formula One cars. So if you look at like Red Bull Racing, they use the same core technology for their heat exchangers. So it's been a really crucial element on keeping this car cool. I do have a special coolant mix. It's not just the Honda Blue that you see in the, I guess in the parts store from Honda. So I have 1 gallon Honda Blue, 1 gallon of distilled water, and then today I'm actually trying out VP Cool Down. It's a coolant additive. I know water wetter is really popular. I just wanted to try the VP stuff, so I put in 1 bottle of that. You can see over here there's a radium coolant expansion tank. It really doesn't help with cooling all too much. It's more of like a bling part as well as reliability, because the OEM one's actually made out of plastic and it's known to crack. So I went ahead and upgraded that just to be safe, because I don't want that stuff cracking at the track. So moving on from the radiator, I mentioned briefly before the intercooler. So down here we have the CNR intercooler. Now this is an extruded tube and fin design. I know the bar and plate designs are really popular. Like that'd be cool for like a street car or a car that sees the drag strip, but for maximum cooling potential through the cooling stack, you want to go tube and fin. And the reason for that is that it allows air to flow through the exchangers, because you have an intercooler. Well, for me it's a street car, so I have an AC condenser, then I have the radiator. If I had a bar and plate design, it would act like a wall and there wouldn't be enough air traveling into the radiator. So an extruded tube and fin design is really crucial there. You also get less pressure drop compared to a bar and plate design, which is cool. So in theory this makes more power, and we can go over the power numbers a little bit later. To cool the oil, I have an HKS oil cooler and it's side mounted. So if we come over here to the driver's side fog light, I actually had to cut these kind of jank. I did the best that I could, but you can see that there is a custom shroud actually included by HKS, and then I think it's like a 12-layer oil cooler core in there. It is thermostatic, which is nice for a daily driver, just because you don't want the oil cooler running all the time and overcooling the oil, because that is a thing. So you'll see throughout the car that there's little bits and pieces of gold, and that's just to help reflect any type of radiant heat. So we want to keep the charge temps down to keep the power up. On top of that, like I said, ceramic coating on the exhaust pipes helps really retain the heat in the exhaust. Like you don't want that leaking out into the engine bay, getting everything else hot. So to follow that train of thought, there's a turbo blanket here, PTP turbo blanket. The exhaust is wrapped as well in a titanium exhaust wrap. Can't see it because it's all covered up, but really want to retain the heat where the hot parts are. You don't want that leaking out, so to speak.
All right, we got all the cooling out of the way and the power. Let's go ahead and move on to see what you got going on with the brakes as well as the suspension, because I know there's not a whole lot on this car that you left untouched. So what you got going on?
Yeah, so with all the power, you want to make sure you can actually stop the car, and you know, the factory Brembos are actually pretty good, and these are going to be here for the time being because there is something coming in the works. But for right now, we have a 2-piece upgraded rotor, and this is from Paragon Brakes. Shout out to Godfrey, really cool dude, knowledgeable. He's been supporting me throughout my mod journey here. So 2-piece front rotor. I'm also using the Paragon pads. It's their track spec pad, R5 compound. What's really cool about this is that it is a track focus compound with really good modularity of the pedal, so you can really control your braking pressure. And if you're a threshold breaker or a trail breaker, this is a really good pad for you. I'm using the Endless RF650 brake fluid. I like it better than the Multool or the Castrol. I think it's just a more consistent pedal feel. Goodrich stainless steel brake lines. For wheels, Volk TE37 Saga. I'm running an 18x10 40 offset. It's a square spec 265/35 Yokohama Advan A052. They've got a lot of street miles on them, so I don't know how much grip is left. There's some heat cycles in them. They're not really designed to be driven on the street. It's the 200 tread wear cheater tire, so it's the fastest 200 tread wear out there on the market currently. We can move on to the rear because the rear is upgraded as well.
Sounds like a really sorted out brake and tire setup. It looks like it's gonna work great, so I hope it works great this weekend. I'll go ahead and test that out for you. Next thing's up, the suspension. What you got going on under there?
Quite a bit actually. So RV6 hooked me up with some of the rear control arms, tow arms and stuff like that. So I have a RV6 rear sway bar. I also have their billet sway bar end links, their tow arms, and their rear lower control arms. This really helps dial in the amount of camber and tow that I have, and also deletes the eccentric adjustment. So when we're jumping berms on track with an eccentric adjustment, you really can lose your alignment after one track day. So this will help hopefully eliminate that issue, retain the alignment on track while we're jumping the berms, and also really dial in the amount of camber and tow that we want. For suspension, I am running the HKS Hypermax 4 SP coilovers with Swift springs. It's a one-way adjustable coilover. It is not corner balance. It desperately needs a corner balance. So if you know a guy or have a shop, hit me up. I need it badly. So that's what we're running for suspension. All right, and just quick fun fact with the RV6 stuff, and this is why I chose them, is that they've done their development on their suspension parts and their exhaust parts using the Honda Civic Type R TC. It's a race car, so it's got a lot of track time. And if you also follow the 25 Hours of Thunder Hill, their car also uses all of the RV6 goodies. So if it's good enough for a 25-hour endurance car, definitely good enough for me.
It also looks like a couple of the body panels have been modified. Tell us a little bit about your hood, about your wing, and what's going on up front up there.
Yeah, so I guess we could start with the front. Now the first, I guess, striking piece would be the aftermarket hood. And this is an authentic Varus Japan cooling bonnet is what they call it. And this is a CFRP, so carbon fiber reinforced plastic. I was gonna paint the hood anyway, so I didn't need the full carbon. I didn't want to pay the JDM tax on that. What's great about this is that if you look over here, there's a massive vent above the turbo inlet, and more importantly the turbo, and this helps a lot of the hot air escape out of the engine bay to reduce overall temperatures of the intake and the coolant. There's also a couple of Naka ducts on the side to really pull air in, and if you come to the side of the car real quick, one of the actual vents on this car that aren't fake, by the way. So there's some fender ducting here which will actually pull air from the hood and out of the side fender. All right, so the last part of the car that we're going to talk about today is the APR GT250 wing. It's actually the 61-inch wide version. I am planning to get a front splitter pretty soon to help balance out the aero, but the reason I went for this is that it's a low drag, low downforce wing. Some people actually have a misconception that rear wings aren't needed on front wheel drive cars, and that's actually not true. Under high speed corners, you do want some rear stability, and with some suspension tweaking, sway bars, etc., you can actually get the car to turn in much better with the rear wing. So a stock wing is actually good for most people, especially if you're on completely stock aero or if you don't plan to add a front splitter. It's actually quite efficient, provides enough downforce, but this is going to be a nice upgrade for future stuff that I have planned.
All right, so all this talk about power and suspension and aerodynamics, that's all cool and all, but what are the numbers on this thing? What kind of power does it make? What kind of torque does it make? Can you tell us a little bit about those numbers? Have you gotten it dynoed?
Yeah, absolutely. I recently got it dynoed maybe 2-3 weeks ago down in San Jose. It was on a Mustang dyno, so if you don't know, Mustang dynos are a little bit underrated compared to like a Dyno Jet or a Dynapack, which is where most people actually dyno from what I know. So horsepower wise, and this is wheel horsepower, 360 wheel horsepower and about 354 wheel torque. So if we convert that into like a Dyno Jet, it could be anywhere from 5 to 12% higher. So anywhere from 390 to 400 wheel horsepower on this car. On 91 octane fuel, by the way, I forgot to mention that. So no ethanol, no meth injection, pure 91 crappy California gas.
Is that with stock fuel? So you have the stock OEM injectors and the stock fuel pump, all that?
Stock fueling, stock turbo, stock block.
That's crazy. These things are no joke. They're really not. If you see any of these at the track or just around town, it's not your average Civic. It's really not.
Yeah, definitely not. So I haven't street raced this car, so I don't know how it stacks up to the other cars, but on the track, it could be a little frustrating and funny at the same time, because you pull up on a nice exotic car like a Porsche, Ferrari, or a Lotus, and then they see a Honda in their rear view mirror and they don't want to point you by. It's kind of funny.
So I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about Michael's car. It's definitely more than track ready, and it's gonna put down some insane lap times. I've gotten to drive it once before at the 3 mile. Absolutely insane, probably one of the fastest cars I've ever driven around a racetrack, and I don't doubt it's gonna be any different this next time around. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed seeing Michael's car. I'll have a video out for you guys after this coming weekend on the track footage and the results of what it's actually able to do with all of this stuff on it. I'm sure Michael's really curious to see what I can do with that as well. He'll get to see soon enough here. Yeah. So it's been Sean Milburn with Milburn Motorsports. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to comment if there's anything you want to see. I can always accommodate to your suggestions. Leave a like if this is something you want to see more of as well. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.